Welcome to another episode of Tree Service Marketing Profits Podcast. I am your host, Wesley Smith, here with treeservicedigital.com and the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel. We got plenty more interviews with experts coming up, people that have grown their businesses from zero all the way to multiple millions. We've also got more marketing content as well coming down the pike, and webinars coming up soon too. So we like to do these interviews just to share with our community here with the tree care industry. And we've got another business professional here, Mike Blascak, on with us from Mid-State Trees. Wanting to tell his story today. You're going to share with us. Mike, welcome aboard, man. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Well, we'll just get right into it. So you got Mid-State Trees, the tree company there. And what all do you guys like? When did you get started in the tree industry? How did you come about doing this?
My whole life, my dad was a tree guy. My grandfather was a logger. So I grew up in this business. My dad sold, my dad sold his when I was not very young, but when I was 18. He sold to Save a Tree. So um, they took over him. His branch is still running. That Save a Tree branch is still running. Um, and I've always been in tree work for this is my 20. I just started my 26th season. So, um, yeah,
Great.
basically, yeah, never, wanted to get away from it for a little while and then, never happened. Just wound up
So,
staying with it.
yeah, sometimes it's just in the DNA, right? You
Yep.
just
It's just, sometimes you just can't get away from it.
keep on rolling. Well, that's awesome. So there's a lot of consolidating going on right now too in this industry. It seemed to have first came about in the trades like the heating and air conditioning, plumbing, and all those over the
Yep.
last couple of decades. And it's kind of moving into the landscape and tree industry now. Like you mentioned, Save a Tree, some private equity, a couple other ones, right? So
There's a uh
yeah,
there's a few hedge funds sniffing around at if you make 3 to 5 million a year, they definitely want you in their portfolio. Don't really know why. I'm not really on the don't really understand that whole concept if you're in the money management area, because this business has its ups and downs. And as far as I know, I have friends who work in New York and they do not like the downs. So
yeah,
you really have to, and I'm sure once you're in that bracket, I'm sure they vet everyone and make sure that it's good. But still, it's a very weird thing. In the past couple of years, we've definitely seen some of the larger companies get bought out by, one basic hedge fund. I know three people who've sold to the same fund. Um, and I mean, I guess it works out for them because the companies are still doing good. So,
yeah. Just rolls up into one entity, and they have
yep,
kind of one big main company that kind
yep,
of umbrella for all of them.
exactly.
Well, tell us how. So when did you start Mid-State Tree? So you were in kind of with your dad, then he sold, and then you kind of
Yeah, so I
took
worked
it
for
around.
a yeah,
hmm
I worked for a guy from when I was basically 18. For over a decade I was with him. And then after him I kind of bounced around as a contractor for a little while, before it was cool to be a contract climber. I would bounce around for a couple companies. I did like some big projects for the USDA and for the DEP. We had an Asian longhorn beetle problem in the early 2000s, and that basically the USDA came in and needed people that could work, in one town for a year and a half and just basically cut down all of the hardwoods. Big projects like that. It was stuff like that. And then in 2019, I started with a guy over in PA, and he had just invested millions of dollars into a company, and the owner of that company was his best friend, and unfortunately, the person who owned the company, he passed away in a house fire. So now the person who had just invested all that money was basically left with all this equipment. He had absolutely no idea what to do with it. He had no idea how to run a tree service, but it was, basically in his hands now. Wound up going on with him. And the goal was always to grow it to a very large company. And a couple years in 2021, it we were going in different directions. I didn't want to, as a company scales, you have to make sure that customer retention and, and customer satisfaction stays as good as it's always been. When you're a small company with 10 employees, you can keep that customer retention and customer satisfaction very high. As you grow to 25, 30 employees, and you don't want to hire general managers to run each section, that customer satisfaction tends to drop very low. Um, so at the time, I had just had my first child, and I was still climbing for other people on the weekends over here because I live in New Jersey. And that spring of 2021, he basically told me that I don't want you climbing for other people. Just take my equipment home on the weekends and start your own little thing. That way, you're making as much as you do in a month in one day and spend that time with your kids. He's a very, very good guy, very, very business savvy. But the business was not his business plan, was not my way of doing things. And So I basically started. I took what he taught me, and started marketing by myself. I still do everything myself. I don't outsource anything. Even my Google ads, I tried having somebody run them, and I just don't have anyone right now. It's very hard to find a trustworthy person to do all that stuff for you, especially when, like me, you don't know what you're doing. I just use the Google Advisor, and hopefully somebody like you can, it's hard to find people to do a good job. But anyway, so I started doing it myself, and when fall of 2021 came, the market was still in a boom. The outdoor services market during COVID was insane. We went from in Pennsylvania, we went from I think the first year I was there, we made $230,000. By the time I left, we were over 2 million a year. And that was within a span of 3 years. Uh,
Wow, quick growth. Yeah.
yeah, quick growth. Very, very fast. I mean, now the company is in the upwards of the 7 to 10 million because they do lawns and plant healthcare and everything like that. Um, so I started my own 100% on my own November 1st in 2021. Um, at that point, I left and I was already basically booked out through winter. The entire winter, it was very, very good. And since then, I've never had a year under $1 million. My first year on my own, I made 1.2. Second year, 1.7, but it was a lot of headaches. I hired a lot of people. I went up to 11 guys. Um, was not worth it. At the end of it, just I was basically paying one crew to not do anything when the other, you know what I mean? It just wasn't worth it. So last year, well, this year, 2024, I scaled back and I kept it back to the one original crew, with basically the guys who have been here with me since the beginning. Um, and it worked out. We did very, very well last year, even just being back down to 6 guys. Um, so that's where we're at now. We kind of scaled it back, and we'd like to. It's hard. The money is there, the work is there. The problem is completing it in a time frame to where customers are not getting upset. Nobody wants to hear you have a 12-week lead time. And it's usually the small jobs that get put to the wayside. Because we have every job we do, most days are, $4,000 to $5,000 days. And it's those $1,200 jobs, those $900 prunes, those that it's hard to build days around them because they're scattered in different directions and things like that.
Right.
So this year we're looking to take on another, we're going to try and do it again. We're going to try and find the right people to fill that role. Because I think part of the problem was we just couldn't find the right people to fill the role last time. And, the goal is to get them to go out and do all those, to just keep up with the workflow. It's not going to be the money making crew, but it's going to keep us on schedule.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I'm going to back up just a little bit, man. That's all a bunch of great information you just shared. And I think a lot of people are probably, it's turning in their head like it is mine. So let's unpack when you started it 3 or 4 years ago to getting it up to a million, then 1.7 million in just a couple of years. How do you think, what were the best methods that you said that maybe that you did with marketing or referral based stuff to
so
get that big that quick?
so I had a so I have a relationship with Single Ops software. Um, I never did paper estimates. I never started like that. I've tracked my metrics since day one. So I knew where I needed to scale. I knew what I needed to do. I knew how I needed to retain people. Um, and the only marketing I've really ever done is EDDM, is direct mail. Um, I also make sure that there's a lot of companies out there that do EDDM. Um, you just have to make sure that you stand out. One of the biggest things that my old boss partner, whatever you want to call him, I used to say that there was a cap on tree work. You can only make X amount of dollars per day. Nobody's going to pay more than this for tree work because anybody can do tree work. And his thing, he said to me, he said, well, that's why you don't sell tree work. You sell yourself, you sell your company. He's like, don't sell them tree work. He's like, sell them your company and what you represent and why they should hire you. Um, and that stuck with me. I just make sure that I stand out from my competition. And I'm lucky to be in an area where the competition is not that fierce. Everybody's kind of on the same page. A lot of us are friends outside of work, so there's not really a lot of animosity and things like that. Whereas in other markets where it's cutthroat, you very rarely have, friends. There's local competitors that, we go snowboarding together. We hang out where they're they are my main competition, but we're friends before, competitors.
That's awesome. Had to do a quick adjustment there,
Yeah,
but
of course.
yeah, man, I think so the EDDM model, we've been down that road as well. So a lot of our clients do direct mail, do digital, do kind of the whole shebang. But that is one thing where you can blanket your target areas with saturated mail, where it goes
Yes.
to every single mailbox. Tell me a little bit about that. Were you targeting all the zip codes that you cover, or kind of rotating them around, hitting
So
places 2, 3, 4 times, or how?
I rotate. I have like a 9 to 12 month rotation of areas that I hit, basically to give you give people moving in a chance. You give new, because if you saturate an area, there's some marketing companies who hit this area, and I get a flyer a month from them, and I talk to my customers. I know them. You know I am a true local company. A lot of these companies saturating you with EDDM are, an hour and a half away, claiming that they're a local family run business when they're not. And customers see that. Customers see the dishonesty right off the bat. And, when you say, oh, I'm a local company, and then you Google the thing and the office is 96 minutes away, it hits them with a bad taste in their mouth right off the bat.
It'll discourage them from calling a lot of times, or when they do, they get
Exactly.
upset. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Um,
Good deal. I mean, that's amazing. So you saw the value in that right from the beginning. Look, I've got to push myself out to market quickly. And that
yeah.
was kind of the best approach to blanket the community and let everybody know you're doing this.
Yep.
What would you say, or if you're comfortable sharing that, like what was your budget with EDDM? Like what were you spending, 3 to 5 grand a month, perhaps, or 10 grand a month?
So
Some clients are
no,
spending a
so
lot.
in the beginning it was a lot. In the beginning it was a lot less. So I would say so in the beginning, so in I would say 2021 is when I started, like spring of 2021, I started doing it on the side. I was spending So, I mean, do you want blanket numbers? I mean, I have no problem sharing like my numbers, what I pay for printing, what I pay for, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because what we always talk to our clients about marketing and kind of like a percentage of their overall revenue because it's
Yep.
important to invest back into that.
Yeah,
And I just want
exactly.
everybody to hear this because it's important to grow your company
Absolutely.
that quickly. You got to be doing it. So just a
So
rough estimate, maybe. Yeah.
yeah, so in the beginning, I didn't see the point of buying in bulk, but since then, I basically I print, and everything I do is myself. I design everything myself. My wife helps me design it. I have a local printer who prints them for me. I bring it myself to the post office. I don't do any of the UPS drops or any of that stuff. So basically I pay it's 1,400 bucks for 10,000 double-sided flyers.
Hmm.
And then obviously it's like 22 cents a house. So it works out to be just about 40 cents. If you factor in time of me and gas and everything like that, it's about 40 cents per household is what it winds up being. And what I do is I do about 3,000 a week is what I try to stay on track with. 2,500 to 3,000 a week, depending on the zip code. Sometimes you get those zip codes that are bigger and it's 3,500 and whatever. But on average, I send out about 10,000 a month.
The 6 to 8 thousand a month, probably something like that. Maybe
10,000
5,000 a month.
ten
Yeah.
thousand a month. No, 10,000 a month I send out.
Yeah,
Um,
but the budget may be somewhere between 5 to 6, seven
uh,
thousand, something like that.
I
But
would say more in the 3 to 4,000 range a
okay.
month. Yeah,
Okay.
I would say 3 to 4,000 a month for the budget for marketing because I would say $1,000 a week is probably right on target.
So there you
Uh,
have it, guys. If you want to print out your own flyers, and you get a better deal per unit when you print out 10, 20,000 at a time, right?
yep,
So you print them out in bulk, and then you set up the EDDM website, you plug in, then you pick your zip codes and routes, and you just start firing those puppies every week. That way, every week you got a good, predictable amount of calls coming in per week. It's a really
yep,
good way to do it. And we talk to our clients about this all the time too, because it's a good combination with digital too, because a lot of people will look up your business, look
yep,
up your reviews, look up
absolutely.
your website, and then you can retarget all those people again too. So they just you're tattooing your brand in their head over and over again. So
Yep,
that's great. Thanks for sharing that, man. A lot of people need to hear that because marketing is the lifeblood of your business. Referrals are great, and if you're out there doing the right thing, those will come. But you've got to pour money into your business and really just make sure you monetize it. You pour money
yep,
into it, but make sure you're making those educated, not guesses, but you're making sure that you're monitoring, like you make sure you answer the phone and you schedule those appointments. Don't miss the calls and things like that. That can be
yeah.
costly.
That was one of the most important things I
Yeah.
did right from the beginning. Was I hired someone to take over the phones and do my schedule and appointments and things like that. Just it's not a big expense. You can hire somebody to do it from home. It's the most important thing you can do because if you're out in the field working, and if you're an owner operator, you can't answer the phone. I remember my dad coming home from work, with people's names written on Burger King napkins. And, he would just empty his
Yeah.
pockets onto the table at the end of the day and start making all these phone calls. And I remember I was a young teen. I was 14, 15 years old. And I'm like, man, there's got to be a better way than what you're doing because this is terrible. But it worked,
Yeah.
it worked for him. But this is also the 90s. So, it was different. Uh,
Similar. My parents had a plumbing repair and service business, and same thing. That my mom answered the phones, wrote everything down on a notebook.
yep.
If that notebook got lost, it was mission critical,
Oh,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
It's great having a CRM these days. You punch it in, everybody's got the same sheet of music when they log in. It's
Yep.
perfect. That's the way you grow it. And see that to the other point, moving on down the line with your business, you're building up a massive contact database
Yes.
where you can monetize as well with email
Yep.
newsletters, text marketing campaigns. So
Yep.
these are the types of things that help you grow quickly, but you've got to be able to, put it out there and make sure you spend the money and invest the money to get the business to grow. So
Yes.
that's awesome, man. It sounds like you kind of got that honed in and really ramped up this year, perhaps maybe putting on a second crew so you could either kind of inch your way up with the direct mail, maybe toss in some digital and just kind of do a mixed bag of that type of
Yep.
thing.
This is the year
Um,
I'm gonna focus a lot on digital now. I just did the Google guaranteed and things like that.
Perfect.
So this year I'm gonna work more on the digital and you know, like it says behind you, the Facebook marketing, Google ads thing. That's gonna be my goal going into this season is to focus more on that because I have a wonderful client base. I have a lot of return customers. We have a very, very good standing in the community. Um, and there's guys who have been around for, people don't realize that, if you don't focus on your reviews, there's guys who have been around 20 years and they only have they have a 4-star rating on Google and they've been around 20 years and, they get one review a year. It doesn't rate you very high. I've only been in business 3 years. I have 127 5-star reviews, and a really good you know, basis.
Overall rating. Yeah,
Yeah.
overall rating. Yeah, that's important for the local service ads and the Google Maps
Yep.
rankings and showing up
Yep.
everywhere. So, because Google's only got a few things in their algorithm to determine who they're going to show at the top. One
Yep.
of the major ones is how high is the rating and how many reviews they have.
Yep.
So that's a really good thing to work on and invest on from the beginning. Automating that process is paramount too. Once you kind of get rolling with that, because then it just happens without even asking it. Just kind of text and emails the people after the jobs are over. And building that up is just incredible. Once you get it built up, it's there. And being proactive is also a great thing to do because inevitably you're going to run over somebody's grass or
Yeah.
somebody's going to be upset one day. Heck, we've had clients get bad reviews because somebody was three doors down cutting trees at 8 o'clock in the morning. So you can't avoid that. Like a
Can't
neighbor
avoid it. Yep.
mad, yeah, they're just going to do
Yep.
it.
Yep.
So by working on the 5 stars, it'll just kind of drown out any 1 star you get, and you can always reply back with your side of the story on there.
Yep.
So people look at that, and if you're
We have
hearing,
we use this thing called a pop card. It's
Mhm.
basically like an NRC card,
Yep.
an FC card, and the guys after every job, when they go to collect a check or anything like that, they say, hey, we have these cool little things. Can you tap it on your phone and just leave a review? So it's the easiest getting it. As soon as you leave the site, your chances of getting that review really, really go down without, you can, I do my CRM also, it sends them a link to Google when their invoice is paid, and, it gives them a text link and stuff like that. But I don't like doing it more than once. Like, I'm not the one who's going to follow up, a week later, like, hey, we noticed you didn't leave a review, or, because sometimes I think that pushes them away even more from leaving a review. So the
Yeah.
fastest way I've learned is just have the guys just do it while they're on site, even if they don't get a check. Just say, "Hey, you happy with the service? Leave a review, and go online and make your payment online."
Yeah. If you ask nicely, they'll more than likely do it. And
Yep.
cool thing is, some of these tools, if they don't have a Google account, which some of the, older population, sometimes they don't, then they can pivot and just leave you one on Facebook. Or
Yep.
sometimes the review platforms will just have a place you can write the review and it'll still pop on your website and stuff like that. So
Yep.
incredible, man. That's great. You getting the reviews and some companies I've talked to, even our clients too, they'll incentivize their team out there. Hey, every 5 star review you get on site, we'll give you $50, right? So they're like,
Exactly what I do.
we're
They
happy to pay
they
500 bucks to a guy if he gets
they
10
race
reviews.
to they race to see who can get the review between we have a couple. There's two foremen on the crew, which kind of, it's weird for that, you know what I mean? But it works for us, you know what I mean? We have a foreman climber and a foreman groundman.
Yeah.
So everybody has one of the cards. So whoever builds the relationship with the customer from the beginning, sometimes one of the groundmen hits it off with the homeowner better than anyone else. While people are in the tree, one of the groundmen's talking to the guy about his koi pond or whatever.
Hmm.
So he's the one that should, if he has that relationship built over the course of an 8-hour day, he's the one who should, pull out his card and ask for that review. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's whoever's built the relationship over the day.
Those pop cards are amazing. We've ordered some of those too for clients that just have like 10 reviews. Like you said, they've been in business 20 years.
Yep.
And so we've ordered those for them. And yeah, you just put it up next to the phone and it just pops up the review and they can do it right there.
Yes.
Um, Another important thing too, you're wearing company swag. I noticed. So, anybody watching this, if you're getting value out of this video, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, like and subscribe to our podcast. We got plenty more coming, but Mike's wearing company swag, and that's one of the things that pays dividends, right? You're out there walking around, you're talking to clients, and it just shows like that you care about your company and that you're excited
Absolutely.
about your business, and people gravitate towards that.
Absolutely. Our
So,
whole I don't know what you would call it, our whole aesthetic. So in the beginning, one of our major competitors, who is not a friend of mine, he's not a nice business owner, but his part of his selling technique was basically like putting me down and calling me the cotton candy tree service because my logo is bright pink. Um, and we just leaned into it, to the point where now, like, our marketing headers on our EDDM, it like looks like clouds of cotton candy with blue and pink things. And we really leaned into it. And they said, like, you know what? Go ahead, call us the Cotton Candy Tree Service. We're out here taking your customers daily.
People
So
love that if you own up to it, own it, just
yeah,
own it. Who
absolutely.
cares? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And it's unique. It's
Yep.
different than other tree companies. So
Yep.
that's perfect. Most everybody's got the green color or
Everybody's
something
green.
like that.
Everybody's
Yeah.
green and black.
So that'll stand out like a sore thumb out there, man. Being a different color. That's
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah,
Well,
we go we
where's
go
so what yeah, thanks for sharing, man. This has been great. What so Mid-State Tree, you guys are ramping up, you're growing. I mean, geez, only 3 or 4 years in business, already doing the revenue you're doing. That's amazing. What's kind of like the outlook over the next 3 to 5 years? Where do you see the business going, or what would you like to see out of the business?
um that is the up in the air. I would like to grow it to the point where I can basically sell. I would like to, yeah, I've done this a long time. I don't really know what's next. I have a couple other things that I do. I own a garbage bin cleaning business.
I
I
heard that's getting pretty big out there,
it's
sanitizing those garbage bins. Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
wonderful, and the overhead is so low. Really, I mean, by the time you buy your truck or trailer, whatever you have, it's really, and the service sells itself. You pull up into a cul-de-sac for one neighborhood. By the second time you go, 3 months later, you own the entire
Oh
cul-de-sac.
yeah, our garbage bins are disgusting.
Yep,
Yeah.
nobody wants to do it on a
Yeah,
hot
yeah,
summer
yeah.
when it's 100 degrees outside in the summertime. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants you don't want your wife dealing with it. You don't want nobody wants to do it. So you figure if, for 150 bucks a year, you get it done 3 times. You can't beat it.
No, that's great because I remember when we had the service that picked up the garbage can. So used to in the past, it was two guys on the truck and one guy would get out and go dump it in the back. And every time they would dump it in the back, it would land inside the back of the garbage truck and get all
Yep.
this sludge on it. So it was
Yep.
absolutely disgusting. Now they charge us more and there's a robotic arm and there's only one guy in the truck. And
Yep.
one guy picks up the thing and dumps it and then goes back down. So it's not getting as dirty anymore, but they don't always pick it up. If it's a little bit ajar at the top, they won't even pick it up.
They won't touch it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. So anyway, it's like a catch 22 both ways, but I see the need for that for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
awesome, man. Yeah, it sounds like
it's
you got a plan, and that's the one thing about it. When you grow your business the smart way with a CRM like you're doing, you have a predictable marketing stream, different channels of marketing, not just relying on one. Then it's more attractive to a buyer
Yep.
and they can see your customer database, how big it is, how many times people have repeatedly called or done
Yep.
business. So that's very valuable. So everybody watching, if you don't have a CRM, even if you just get a basic one like Jobber or anything like that, just get it going where you've got all your contacts in there. And then you can grow quicker and more intelligently because everybody on the team out in the field, in the office, wherever you're at, you can all log in and see the same stuff, send out estimates, invoices, all that stuff. So you would say that's the best way to literally organize your company probably is make sure you do
Literally,
that from the
I
beginning.
don't know how people do it on paper anymore. I don't see how you can run a business in 2025 without automation, without having everything at your fingertips. It's just I don't see how you can do it.
Well,
I
and
know.
it also takes the heavy lifting off following up with invoices not being paid and all that stuff,
Yep.
right? You
Our
get
our
everything going.
estimate, the reason why I have such a, I have a basically a 70% close rate and a 36.7% profit margin.
Wow,
Um,
that's great.
so it's very, very hard to keep your close rates that high and still keep a high profit. But the only reason I have such a high close rate is because of, my CRM single ops. I have the automated, it's dialed in for the way that I sell. They get an estimate before. A lot of these guys, they don't send the estimates, or they take days to send the estimates, or whatever it is. I don't really understand it. With me, I have a computer basically built into my truck. They have the estimate before I leave the property. If I don't have an okay, handshake deal, and I approve it while I'm on the property, usually I offer a 24-hour discount incentivizing them. So basically, you approve within the first 24 hours, you get 10% off.
Hmm.
Um, And basically it eliminates the follow-ups. It eliminates you having to call back. It eliminates, oh, well, I had another guy come and he said he would also take this branch, and could you do it $150 cheaper? Or
Matching up proposals and all that stuff.
yeah, so it eliminates all that. It eliminates all the tire kicking. I tell people, like, look, this is who I am. My prices are what my prices are. I don't really negotiate. You get my best price, whatever it is. The biggest thing I tell people is if you're changing your prices in different zip codes, you're doing something wrong. Because your cost to run your company should not change. Just because you're in a wealthier zip code, does not mean that you should be charging them more, because people see that. You know what I mean? If they have a person who lives, 3 towns over in a little bit less attractive neighborhood, but they're still friends, they say, "Oh yeah, he gave me a price of 5,500. Oh, he gave me a price of 8,500." I don't really see the point, and there's a lot of those guys out there.
Word
They
will spread fast and people will get a negative connotation of your business at that
exactly.
point. Yeah.
Yep. Your price should be your price. I mean, I know exactly what it costs to run my company with a good profit. I charge, 122.57 per hour per employee. That is what they need to make. That is what everybody should be paying. That's what they pay. Granted, of course, there's times where they go over by an hour or two, but there's also days where, they knock out 8 hours worth of work in 4 hours.
Right.
So, um,
One really important thing you said right there, everybody watching or listening, is money like speed, right? So you're on the job site estimating the work, you're eager and excited to do the work, and you give them the estimate right there on the spot. Hey, look, man, I'll give you 10% off if you go ahead and agree to this today. I'm here. We got other estimates we got to do, but we want to prioritize your work. And you give them that discount, and it just gives them the incentive to go ahead and say, yeah, why not? Let's go ahead and do it right now. Because if you do wait, to your point, people get swamped and buried. Sometimes they're not using a CRM, so they got all this paperwork with invoicing and stuff, so they forget to send the estimate. Then the client starts getting impatient. They want to get the work done, so they start calling other people. And then it's 6 days later, you send the estimate, or 3 days later.
yep,
Well, if you would have sent it the first day, you probably would have just got it accepted and been on the schedule
exactly.
already. But it goes to show that, yeah, when you organize the company and you have help in your company, you can get these jobs booked a lot faster too. So
Yep.
70% close rate, that's amazing.
I also have so my sales pitch is very dialed in. I am my father likes to tell me that I could literally sell water to the ocean. But I also give.
We're all in the sales business, whether you like it or not.
Yes. So
You
I
know,
also, on every estimate that I go to, I mean, you can't really see it, but everybody gets one of these little packets. It's got a magnet, it's got a business card, it's got a little brochure that has all of our insurance information. It shows our equipment that's not going to damage your lawn. It shows that we put out mats. It shows that we care about your property. Um, so
love
every
that.
so every customer gets one of these little packets, and it winds up only costing basically $3 for one of these packets. What I have been doing recently, so I have a couple local coffee shops for different areas. I go in and I buy $5 gift cards because I buy them in bulk, and I'll basically buy a couple $100 worth at each coffee shop. And I include one of those coffee things. And when I leave the estimate, I leave them with this thing. I said, look, included in here is a thing. Take your wife, go get a coffee, talk about the estimates you have, that book right there. Make sure you're comparing apples to apples. Just make sure that when you're hiring, look at what you're getting for what you're paying. And since I've started doing that, it's gotten even better. Most of the people say, yeah, we're not gonna get other estimates. We're good. We just by what you're showing us shows that we're gonna go with you.
Well, it shows that you care because you're showing them your step-by-step process when you get on the job. Here's how we're going to take care of your property. Here's how we're going to
Yep.
clean up after we're done. And people want to see that vision of like how it's all going to come together. So
Yep.
yeah, that's amazing, man. That's great. That's a really good sales point and a sales tip that Mike just shared is leave behinds on every appointment. They go a long way, right? We've printed out some brochures for a few clients that really wanted to do that, and some people have their own that I think are amazing as well. And what you just shared is perfect because if you can show them detailed, like how you operate here, when we get here, here's what we're going to do first. We're going to come knock on your door, make sure you know we're here. Step two, what we're going to do is we're going to pull out the mat so we don't, mess up your lawn. That just shows them that you care and you're literally rolling out the carpet for them. So that's
Yep.
what they like to see and like what they like to hear too, because that's one of the probably the bigger complaints is knocking over the fence or rolling over the yard or something like that.
Yep. Is the
So
destruction that people leave behind.
yeah, I mean it's almost hard to avoid sometimes with the equipment. But what type? We didn't get into that yet. What type of equipment do you guys use? Are you guys spider lifts, bucket trucks? What do you guys run?
Just we have a bucket, two chip trucks, two wood trucks. Spider when we need it. We just have a local guy that we use his. I don't as a climber, I've never really felt comfortable in a spider lift. It's just not my thing. It's just not
Isolated way up in the air in
I
this.
just don't like it. I would much rather just the same way I don't like ladders. I have no problem climbing a 100-foot tree, but you put me 12 feet up on a ladder and I'm terrified.
Mhm.
Just don't like it. Um, but yeah, and then we have a couple articulating loaders, a mini skid steer. Best investment I've made as a business owner, as a tree service owner, is one of those 40 horsepower ride-on blowers,
Mhm.
because it basically eliminates hours worth of cleanup. It doesn't matter. There's no more raking. It's
Mhm.
just it eliminates three guys raking for 3 hours. One guy can do it in less than 10 minutes.
That's
So
awesome, man. You could put together a nice sales course for the tree service industry. Show them how to get sales done. 70% close rate. Offer them a discount right on the spot to get them to go ahead and commit, and have the estimate out while you're on the property. That's step by step, and showing them how to do that would be very valuable, I think, to the community too.
Yep,
Well, awesome, man. Well, thanks so much for taking some time today. I want to be respectful of your time as
of
well. We're
course.
both really busy. And any parting words for, the people out there that may be just getting started? They're like, man, I want to go to 1 million, 1.7 million in a few years. That sounds awesome. What kind of words of wisdom would you leave those people?
Don't be afraid to. The choices are going to come where you're going to have to give up a lot of people think that your freedom, that you start a business, you get more time, more freedom, more to do what you want. Don't get discouraged giving up that freedom the first couple years, because I'm a hustler. I work, you can ask my wife, I work 100 hours a week, getting this business to where it is. It is not, it will not grow by itself. You have to donate the time. If you think that starting a business it's great. If you want to stay small and do your 40-hour work week and own the business and do it all, that's fine. But if you want to grow, you have to put the time in. You are not going to grow your business by thinking you can take a random Wednesday off and go fishing. It's not going to happen the first couple years, but by year three, you can do it.
It's a momentum game, right? It's a
It's
momentum
a
game.
momentum game. You have to get it rolling while you're young, because you will stagnate. Yeah, if you're a small company, you will stagnate very fast.
It's like what they say was the old saying, entrepreneurs are willing to work 80 hours a week to avoid the 40-hour a week job, right? So
Exactly.
that's
Yep.
it, man. That's the way it works. Well, awesome, man. Thank you so much, Mike, for sharing your wisdom today. Mid-State
Absolutely.
Tree up in New Jersey. Look them up. Doing big things, growing quickly. And I hope to have you on again, man. If you come up with any other things
Absolutely.
that you want to share or, things that are
Absolutely.
going on in the business, feel free to, come back. We'd love to have you back, man.
Absolutely.
All right.
Um,
Well, yeah.
yeah,
Well,
you have another call. I know we talked about talking about your actual program.
yeah, right after this, we will. I'll wrap everything up. Guys, thanks so much for joining today. And thanks for being on and listening to Mike and myself kind of go over his business, how he got started, where he got today. If you're on the YouTube channel, again, like and subscribe to our channel. We got plenty more episodes coming up, and we'll be on the next video. We'll see you then.